In our first community conversation, we're joined by Dr. Thomas Shin, a surgeon with UVA Health. He's sitting down with him.
Dr. Shin, it's good to see you again.
Hi.
Hello. All right, so you're here today talking about gastroparesis, talking about common misconceptions specifically. But first, what exactly is gastroparesis?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's something that a lot of physicians and patients don't necessarily come into contact that often. It's a condition where the stomach, which is an organ, it's the beginning part of our digestive system actually, and it's composed of lots of different muscle fibers that kind of run in different directions. Our body is really smart. It knows how to regulate all those muscle fibers to create a unified, almost like a choreographed movement of the stomach. But sometimes the movements don't align with each other, and that causes delayed gastric emptying, and that can cause nausea, vomiting, and a lot of other symptoms, and that whole condition is referred to as gastroparesis.
It sounds unpleasant.
No, it certainly is not.
Yeah. Well, now we're going to play a little game of true or false.
Okay.
So I'm going to read you a statement. You tell me if it's true or false.
Okay.
So, improving gastric emptying improves gastroparesis.
Yeah, so that's a very common misconception. It's a yes and no, but for the most part, I would say it's false. Just because you improve gastric emptying doesn't necessarily mean the symptoms of gastroparesis go away. In fact, some studies show that in upwards of about 40% of the time, or 40% of patients who have improved gastric emptying still continue to suffer from the clinical symptoms of gastroparesis.
Okay. And my next statement, the only FDA-approved medication for gastroparesis was approved in 1979.
That is 100% correct, shockingly.
Wow, yeah.
The name of that medication is called metoclopramide. It's a mouthful.
Yes.
Reglan is the usual brand name for it. So yeah, that is really the only medication that is approved for the treatment of symptoms of gastroparesis. Now, that medication is also formulated in many different ways. There's another formulation that's delivered transnasally as well. But the medication itself, the compound, 1979.
Wow, that is shocking.
Yeah.
And my last one, gastroparesis patients are always thin and underweight.
Yeah, that's also a very common misconception. So the thing that I didn't mention in the beginning is that gastroparesis is a condition that oftentimes is considered rare, but it's not rare. It's just that the conditions that cause gastroparesis to develop are very wide in terms of spectrum of disease or conditions that are related to gastroparesis. In fact, a lot of gastroparesis occurs in the setting of diabetes, and not everyone who is diabetic is necessarily skinny or underweight. In fact, a lot of patients suffer from obesity at the same time. So yeah, it's a common misconception. It can happen even though patients may appear as if they are not underweight.
Well, I'm glad we were able to bust some of those myths and misconceptions. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Shin, for coming in. Before we go, I did just want to ask, how can people get in touch with you all if they are looking for treatment or just want to get in touch?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I'm part of UVA Health, located right here in Charlottesville. We have a multidisciplinary foregut disease center where we work with gastroenterologists, surgeons like myself, medical doctors, etc. And we are all there to help patients from a multidisciplinary perspective in managing not just gastroparesis, but any ailment or disease of the foregut, so the stomach and the small bowel, etc. So if patients or any of the viewers here are interested, just look us up online or give us a phone call. We're always here to help and happy to connect.
All right, that sounds great. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Shin. I look forward to our next chat and our next game of true or false. That was fun.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. Steve, over to you.